This question here is asking you to print out this floating point number as an integer. And what does that mean? Well, if you were going to convert this into an integer, what would happen? You would take a gigantic meat cleaver, a big knife, and you would cut it right there. Right? You would take this end part and you would throw it away, leaving you with 987 as your integer. Right? So visually, that's what we're doing. We're going to take a big gigantic knife and cut it right down here at the decimal place and throw away the decimal place. If you're thinking about what's the computer science terminology for that, it's called truncating. Truncating. So we're truncating this floating point number, which means cutting off the decimal place. Okay. And so how do we do that? Well, what we're going to do is we take the 987.654 and we typecast him as an integer. And if you remember, how do you typecast as an integer? We use the function int, and we give it as an argument. An argument is what you give to a function. We give it as an argument the floating point number, and this is going to return 987. So when we say return, what do we mean? We mean this whole function is going to be replaced with the value 987. Okay. So what we do here is we do print, and we want to print this, right? So the way this works, like the way the computer evaluates this command, is it says, okay, I need to print out this. And usually that's a string, right? Hello world. But in this case, it is a function. So before it can print this out, it needs to run that function. It needs to evaluate that function. So it's going to go off into a file that we can't see, find this pre-built function called int, give it the 987. The function int in that file that we cannot see is going to take in this 987.654, run some magic on it so that it truncates the decimal place, and then it's going to return the 987. And then what happens? Well, this whole expression here gets replaced with 987, and then finally the print can print. It can print out this integer, right? Just like it prints out that right there. So those are the steps that are happening in the background that you don't see, and that's how we get the result that we get here. And you might be wondering to yourself, how does this int function that we don't see, that's built in to this programming interface that we're using here, how does it do that? How does it cut off the decimal place there, right? Well, what it can do, what can it do to cut off that decimal place? Well, one way that it could do it is it can turn it into a string, 654, and then using the string functions, it could look for where the decimal place is. And then it could figure out how many number of decimals we have. So it's going to figure out we have 3 decimal places. And then what we can do is it could actually cut this string right there. So we can turn this string, after we find out how many decimal places it is, we can take it and convert it to a string that says 987 like that. And then finally we can return the inted version of this string, right? So I don't think that's the exact way that they get that done, but that is the way that it could be done. Okay. Of course, that's involving some abilities that we haven't gone over yet, but just to give you a taste of what you're in for, that's one way that they could have gotten that done, and that's what inting or typecasting a number as an int does. Truncates the decimal place.